It's about 3 weeks now, maybe a month, I guess, since we found out my wife has cancer. That's crazy. It's crazy. Cancer, you know. It's a good kind of cancer. I guess there's not really such a thing, I don't think, as a good kind of cancer, obviously, but we're hopeful, realistically hopeful. Still, it's cancer. It's hard, scary. We have 9 children. She's definitely the most amazing person that I've ever met, known, I think, besides Jesus, that's ever existed. So it's hard for sure, cancer. And I thought I could just maybe share a couple things that we're thinking. I don't know, maybe for myself mostly, but if it's an encouragement to anybody else. One of the things definitely that this has reminded me is that life is hard. It's obvious life is hard, but I don't know, you can be so naive about life, sitting there in the doctor's room, just hearing him describe what's going wrong in my wife's body, thinking about death. It's like, man, how can you be so naive? Life is hard. Life is hard. Even if Marta does well, which is what we're praying will happen, it's still hard, you know. That's like 30, 40 more years, and then we die. One of us is going to go first, most likely. We're going to suffer and die. Life is hard. It's amazing. I don't want to say it wrong. I had this person I knew. He used to say, "Life is tough," and then he'd have his kids say, "Then you die." And that's not what I'm talking about. Life is amazing. Life is wonderful. It's filled with, crazy kinds of joys, and yet there's a lot of suffering. And fundamentally, it's hard. And I guess the reality is, when you look at the Bible, what else do you expect? It's not hard, because God made this world so hard. He made it good, but we rebelled against God, and as a result, we need to get our expectations straight when it comes to life. It's hard. At the same time, though, it's also filled with God's grace. Like, life is hard, but this life that I'm living right now is so much more than I deserve. What I deserve is actually God's wrath. And I mean, it sounds tough to say that, but if you looked in my heart, if you looked at my thoughts, if you looked at me, I'm just a piece of dust who has rebelled against God. What I deserve is, I don't deserve any joy, and yet my life has been filled with joy. Every day is filled with joy. It's funny, in the middle of suffering, it's easy to forget that. One of the things that Marta and I keep saying to each other is, let's enjoy this moment, And one of the ways you enjoy the moment is by just recognizing how kind, all the amazing ways that God has been kind to you in that moment and leading up to that moment. And I guess maybe that leads to the third thing that is on our minds. There's a lot more, of course, but is that life is hard, but it's also, so much better than we deserve. And if you're going to experience joy in the middle of trials, it's really important that you know what's real and you know what's true, and that you don't waste a lot of time thinking about things that are not true. So, like, for example, I never have to spend a lot of time thinking, is God, about whether or not God's good. Like, that's a question I don't even have to ask myself. His son died in my place. He died on the cross for me. So I don't even have to spend one moment wondering, is God good? Is God wise? I look out at this world and I can't explain most of anything I see. Is God wise? I mean, I'm not going to walk into the throne room of the King of the universe and spend a lot of time arguing with him about how he's working his plan out. He is all wise, so I don't need to waste time thinking about that. Is God powerful? Again, I mean, God's able to create a world with a word. God's powerful, God's good, and God's wise. Those three truths, keep us smiling, even when we're suffering. Fear and worry, they come knocking on the door of your heart all the time. You open the door to fear and worry, and you're done. I mean, they come in, they ruin what's going on in your heart. So you have to keep that door locked. And fear and worry, they wear all kinds of disguises. So they want to get in. And yet, when they come knocking at your door, it's three simple questions you can ask, no matter what disguise they wear. And these three simple questions expose, really, who they are and help you know to keep the door shut. And the first question is God good? Fear and worry don't believe God's good. Second question is God in control? Fear and worry don't believe God's in control. And the third question, I guess maybe that beats them all, I don't know, but did Jesus rise from the dead? Is there a resurrection of the dead? Because if there is a resurrection of the dead, if Jesus rose from the dead, yeah, all this stuff is like so crazy hard. So crazy hard. Hurts, it's painful, feel it. God expects me to feel it, you to feel it. We're not machines. It's not the way the world was designed to be. It's because of man's sin. It's sad. Feel the sadness. We can feel that. But at the same time, if Jesus rose from the dead, I mean, I'm going to rise from the dead too. And if he didn't, then why even say I'm a Christian? But if he did, if Jesus did rise from the dead, then we grieve, but not as people without hope. God has a good plan in the middle of suffering. And if you can keep the lies out and keep your mind focused on truth, and I'm saying this kind of at the beginning, so I'm preaching to myself. If you can focus on truth, his plan is to change you and to make you more like Jesus, which is sweet, and to help you, not just make you more like Jesus, but help you to know Jesus. And I can see that already. I mean, there's so many things that I'm learning and ways that I'm changing and ways that we're changing and growing as a family, but we're thankful. We're thankful, and we just want to say God is good, and that's true, even when life hurts.